Let me align myself with the tradition that have been established by our own governor, who started by adopting the protocol that was well established by the MC. But in doing that, permit me to recognize our own governor, His Excellency Dr. Alex Otti, the host governor, who has made this state peaceful. I must say that though we are not in the same political party, but I must celebrate you for keeping this state safe. We feel safe at home, and you must be celebrated for that. Let me also recognize the convener of this awesome project, my own brother and friend, the Minister of Defense, who is looking like one of us. We'll change your name and give you a koro before you go. Yes. Our fathers are here, and we have seen all of you that have paid great price, like the great Hejirika, the great Ikenwachuku, and all the fathers who are here. Please allow me to remain on this tradition that has been established by the governor of our state, so that for the want of time we'll continue. But I will not do that without recognizing the chairman of the National Assembly, which is the president of the Senate, ably represented by my own brother, Senator Yaradua. There is something I want us to do, and that is by standing for 1 minute silence for all those who lost their lives in protecting our lives and properties, and all those soldiers who fought hard, the police who fought hard and they lost their life, and those who lost their life to insecurity. May we rise for 1 minute silence in honor of these sacrifices. May this gentle soul of the departed rest in perfect peace. Please, you may sit down. Security is not the absence of violence. It is the presence of justice, effective institutions, economic opportunity, and public confidence in the capacity of government to protect every citizen. I must commend again the Ministry of Defense and the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Community Engagement, Southeast, for convening this important summit. The team appropriately recognizes that the security challenges confronting our region cannot be resolved by any single government institution or security agency alone. These summits must produce a practical regional framework that clearly identifies responsibilities, establishes measurable timelines, and strengthens coordination among the federal government, the 5 Southeast states, security agencies, traditional institutions, communities, as well as the private sector. The urgency is evident. Nigeria continues to confront diverse security complexities. Available conflict data by ACLED indicate disturbing numbers across the country. I do not need to bore you with these numbers, but those figures remind us that insecurity is not an abstract policy problem. It represents families shattered. It represents livelihoods destroyed and communities forced to live in fear. The Southeast has experienced its own difficult manifestation of this national crisis. The region has witnessed politically motivated violence, attacks on security personnel and public facilities, kidnapping, for ransom, cultism, criminal occupation of forests, illegal arms circulation, and the violent enforcement of unlawful sit-at-home directives. These things we must mention. A 2025 security assessment by ACLED also estimated that violence associated with sit-at-home enforcement and related confrontations has resulted in more than 700 deaths since 2021. It also estimated cumulative economic losses exceeding 7.6 trillion naira. Whatever reservation may exist about individual estimates, the reality is undeniable. Far-driven commercial shutdowns have damaged businesses, interrupted schooling, restricted healthcare access, and weakened investor confidence. The Southeast cannot prosper while its productive citizens are afraid to travel, open their shops, cultivate their farms, or invest their capital. Our people are historically known for enterprise, known for innovation, known for resilience. Protecting that productive energy must be treated as both a security priority and an economic necessity. Ladies and gentlemen, that's why the collaborative effort of several Southeast stakeholders, with their collaborative efforts, I was able to launch, the Peace in Southeast project, a people-centered, non-kinetic peace-building initiative founded on the conviction that lasting security cannot be achieved through force alone, through kinetic approach alone. PICE complements the effort of our gallant security agencies by addressing the underlying drivers of conflict through dialogue, through reconciliation, through community engagement, through youth empowerment, economic inclusion, and strategic partnership. Built on 8 thematic pillars, the initiative brings together government, traditional institutions, religious leaders, civil society, the private sector, women and young people to restore trust, rebuild fractured communities, and create opportunities that make peace attractive and sustainable. Our goal is simple but profound: to replace fear with hope, division with unity, and violence with shared prosperity. Because the future of the Southeast depends not only on defeating criminality, but also on winning the hearts and minds of our people. I'm sure a lot of people in this room would like to talk about regional security architecture. What do I have in mind with regards to that? First, the 5 Southeast states should establish a permanent Southeast security coordination and intelligence framework. Criminal networks do not recognize state boundaries, like have been said here over and over. A kidnapper may commit a crime in one state, like that happened in Enugu State, hold victims in the forest of another state, and move proceeds through a 3rd state. Our response must therefore be regional. And I thank the Deputy Governor of Enugu State for highlighting that during his speech. The framework should include a joint intelligence fusion mechanism, interoperable communication system, coordinated patrol along interstate routes, a shared database of wanted person and criminal network, and harmonized procedures for rapid response. Every distress call must reach the nearest capable security formation, irrespective of jurisdiction. Security agencies should also deepen intelligence-led operations. Checkpoints alone cannot defeat mobile and technologically enabled criminal groups. We require drones, geospatial mapping, forensic capability, automated vehicle identification that have been mentioned by Enugu State Deputy Governor, who I was wondering if he was reading my speech. emergency communication system, and professionally managed surveillance infrastructure. Ladies and gentlemen, technology, however, cannot replace community trust. Residents usually know when strangers enter their forests, when abandoned buildings become criminal camps, and when unusual arms move through their communities. They will provide information only when they believe their identity will be protected and their reports will lead to responsible action. We must consequently establish secure community reporting channels, protect informants, and strengthen collaboration with traditional rulers, town union, youth organization, women groups, transport union, and neighborhood association. I'm sure I will not leave this stage without most of you wondering what we have done with constitutional policing reforms. As the chairman of the Constitution Review Committee, as chairman of this committee on review of the Constitution, I recognize that Nigeria's centralized policing structure is increasingly unable to provide the local knowledge, the personnel strength, and the response time that is required by a federation of our size and complexity. We're talking about a nation with about 923,977 square kilometers. It is no longer enough. This is why the National Assembly has continued to advance constitutional reforms for the establishment of a state police, accompanied by strong safeguards against political abuse. When I was pushing for this agenda, a friend of mine and some of the well-wishers said, "You are pushing for your state governor to have the control of state police. He is going to arrest you." I said, "No, Governor Alex Otti, he's not going to arrest me when I give him state police." So that fear has kept us from making sure that this state police becomes what it's supposed to be. Moreover, we don't make law for ourselves. We make law that will outlive us in our office. We make laws for the society that we govern. The new executive bill, HB 2797, establishment of state police services and other related services, speaks directly to one of the Nigeria's greatest security challenges: response time. It brings policing closer to the people by recognizing that security is most effective when it is rooted in local knowledge, when it's rooted in community trust, and when there is a timely intervention. An officer who knows the forest will police the forest better than one hired from outside. An officer who understands the language, the culture, terrain, and social dynamics of a community is better positioned to gather intelligence, to prevent crime, and to respond speedily to threats. Therefore, I must commend my father and leader, President Bola Tinubu, GCFR, for this bold and very visionary initiative. His administration has demonstrated the courage to confront long-standing structural deficiencies in our policing architecture through a carefully designed constitutional framework that strengthens grassroots security, while embedding safeguard against abuse. This reform is not about weakening the Nigerian police force. It is about complementing it with a decentralized policing system that is more responsive, intelligence-driven, and better suited to the realities of our federation. State police must not become private armies for governors or instruments for suppressing political opponents. Recruitment, command, funding, disciplinary procedures, and operational jurisdiction must be defined by law. And that is what we are trying to do at the Parliament. Independent oversight, legislative scrutiny, transparent funding, and clear mechanisms for federal intervention where abuses occur are also essential. Our objective is not merely to multiply security agencies. It is to bring accountable policing closer to communities while preserving national standards, preserving fundamental rights, and also encouraging effective coordination. The recent approval to expand the Nigerian Army from 8 to 12 divisions and recruit approximately 28,000 additional personnel demonstrate the federal government's recognition of the need to strengthen national security capacity. And I must commend the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Tinubu, for taking this bold step. This expansion must be supported by improved training, by improved equipment, by improved intelligence, troop welfare, as well as strong cooperation with civilian law enforcement institutions. The question will now become, what are those issues driving insecurity? Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we cannot arrest our way out of every security problem. Unemployment, drug abuse, political manipulation, poor urban planning, unresolved communal disputes, and the absence of government services create spaces in which criminality flourish. This has been mentioned also by the Deputy Governor of Enugu State when he spoke. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency reported that within an 18-month period, it made 29,262 arrests. It secured 5,225 convictions, and it seized more than 5.3 million kilograms of illicit substances valued at over 1.5 trillion naira. Drug trafficking and substance abuse increasingly intersect with violent crime. Cultism and organized criminal activity, they play a role. Prevention, rehabilitation, and community education must therefore be complementing the enforcement efforts of this agency. Every Southeast state should expand youth employment, should expand technical education, should expand digital skill, agriculture, and enterprise support programs in communities most vulnerable to criminal recruitment. Local government must become functional centers of development, not distant administrative structures. Ladies and gentlemen, the Southeast Development Commission provides an important platform for addressing regional infrastructure deficit and coordinating long-term economic recovery. The Southeast Vision 2050 Blueprint, which was celebrated by all the state governors, recognizes the region as a central pillar of Nigeria's economic future. Security planning must be integrated into that development framework, because investment, industrialization, and regional connectivity cannot thrive without peace. As I round up, I want to say that we should move from dialogue to implementation. Ladies and gentlemen, I propose at this summit adopt 5 immediate outcomes. 1, a permanent regional security coordination council, a shared intelligence and criminal information platform, coordinated protection of highways, forests, and critical infrastructure, community-based early warning and response mechanisms, and a publicly accessible implementation scorecard to measure progress. Within 60 days, the relevant institution should produce an operational plan identifying responsible agencies, funding requirement, timelines, and performance indicators. Within 6 months, we should reconvene. We should gather again, not merely to deliver speeches, but to evaluate results. The House of Representatives will continue to support necessary appropriations, legislations, and oversight. We will also strengthen engagement with security institutions to ensure that public funds produce measurable improvements in public safety. Our message must be unmistakable. The Southeast is open for lawful enterprise. And I want to thank the governors for the effort they are making. I must thank the 5 governors of Southeast for the effort they are making to make sure that these things, lawful enterprise, education, tourism, and investment, thrives. No individual or group has the right to imprison millions of citizens through fear. No grievance justifies the murder of innocent people, the burning of public institutions, or the destruction of livelihood. Yet our response must also communicate that government will listen, that justice will be pursued, that rights will be protected, and legitimate concerns will be addressed through constitutional and democratic channel. Working together, we can restore confidence, we can reclaim our communities, and we can build a Southeast in which our children can learn, our traders can prosper, our farmers can work, and every citizen can move without fear. I want to thank you for listening. God bless Abia State. God bless the Southeast. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.